which is already in evidence. You see that in front of you and ask to publish. You're familiar with this document?
I have seen this document, yes.
And what is the first part of the certification of death?
So the first part here, the cause of death, is cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement, subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
Now, under that, there's a phrase that says underlying. Is that what you're talking about in terms of the second part per the CDC?
No, the way the CDC normally phrases it is you can break it out into multiple lines. So it could be cardiac arrhythmia due to such and such, due to such and such. And so that's where the underlying conditions come into the death certificate. At least, when you look at these CDC guidelines and the death certificates that I'm used to completing. The second part that I refer to as Part 2 on this death certificate is called Other Contributing Conditions.
And what are the other contributing conditions that you review here?
So on this particular death certificate, the certification says that atherosclerotic and hypertensive heart disease, fentanyl intoxication, and recent methamphetamine use are considered contributing conditions.
So this was prepared by Dr. Baker, correct?
Yes, that is my understanding, that he was the individual who certified this case.
So in terms of Dr. Baker's analysis of this case, how did the heart and drugs contribute to the cause of death?
They were significant, or they contributed to Mr. Floyd having a sudden cardiac arrest, in my opinion. That's how I would read it.
Okay. So I'm going to take this down. If we could unpublish, sorry. Doctor, did you prepare a PowerPoint presentation to walk through your opinions in this case?
Yes.
Judge, I've identified this as demonstrative exhibit 1098, and I'd move to publish.
An objection to 1098 for demonstrative purposes only. All right, it is received for that purpose alone.
So before we begin, Doctor, can you summarize briefly what your opinions are in this case?
Yes. So in my opinion, Mr. Floyd had a sudden cardiac arrhythmia due to his atherosclerotic and hypertensive heart disease, or you can write that down multiple different ways. During his restraint and subdual by the police, or restraint by the police. And then his significant contributory conditions would be, since I've already put the heart disease in Part 1, he would have the toxicology, the fentanyl and methamphetamine. There is exposure to a vehicle exhaust, so potentially carbon monoxide poisoning, or at least an effect from increased carbon monoxide in his bloodstream, and paraganglionoma, or the other natural disease process that he has. So all of those combined to cause Mr. Floyd's death.
All right. So let's walk through each of these, if we could. Starting with the opinions of Dr. Baker as far as the cardiopulmonary arrest. Before we do that, if we could publish the exhibit, Your Honor. Can you just describe what this is and why?